Hey everyone, Dan here. We are midday on Monday, June 28th. We're going to do a quick update on SoFi. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And just know we do a daily update at or after close on SoFi, and this does not replace that. We'll still do an update on SoFi after close today or around the time period of close today, just like we do every day. So, I wanted to kind of do a couple things. One, go in and take a quick look at the chart. I see a lot of people making a bunch of decisions and just thought that I'd throw in my 2 cents to the extent to which adding additional thoughts or info or trend analysis is helpful as people are trying to decide what to do in this seemingly chaotic period since this huge selling pressure has come into play. And then also, I wanted to do an update, sort of like look at the documentation as it pertains to the lockup and just kind of walk through what could be happening and kind of raise some questions that I think we should continue to ask as time goes on as it pertains to SoFi, but then obviously stretching beyond just SoFi itself. So for charting purposes, this is what we're looking at right now. Let's just back it up a few days here. So major selling pressure on the 24th, seemingly in lieu of the end of the lockup period as proclaimed by the media as being today, June 28th. And then huge, enormous selling pressure pre-market on Friday, again, seemingly with anticipation of the lockup period ending and tons of shares being dumped onto the market because we know as soon as the lockup ends, everyone just sells. That's sarcasm. And so just not even a green candle that entire day. This was, looks like after hours on Friday. And then, a bunch of selling pressure again as the day started today. And then, we're starting to pick up a little bit of green activity now, as folks are trying to figure out what to do and where to pick up SoFi at a deal. Now, I've seen some folks talking about, it's really great for the long-term shareholders that this sell-off occurred, that you can come in and lock in prices. And I don't disagree that that's the case. I disagree that it's a good thing in the sense of, the impact that it has on existing shareholders, people who are, trying to take smart positions in the stock, to be sort of like in this world of opacity and just not understanding what's happening because it's not made clear in any way, shape, or form. We'll get more into that in a minute. So the lack of clarity is really disheartening. And then also, just the fact that there's definitely like additional things happening beyond just the lockup frenzy, confusion, craziness, whatever you want to call it. There's definitely a bunch of shorting that's happening. There's all these fails to deliver that we talked about in previous video. And so there's definitely additional aspects to this that feel like, I feel like the people who are proclaiming that the lockup is ending and that, folks, or also are proclaiming that like the shorting and stuff like that is like a good thing for the market and the distortion of the perception of how much supply there is of any given stock. I feel like those people consider themselves like part of the smart money and also proclaim that they like trade on fundamentals, right? And so it just seems like you're trying to play both ends of the spectrum where you're saying that you're smart because you trade on the fundamentals. So things like AMC and GameStop are nonsense because it's not paying any attention to the fundamentals. But then at the same time, you are super okay with short selling to whatever degree it happens in the marketplace, including just sort of agreeing that naked shorting happens in the marketplace. We all saw the clip on CNBC, and that wildly distorts the perception of the retail investor on how much selling pressure there is and what the supply and demand of the stock at any given point in time is. So it just seems really disingenuous to me, really self-serving. And so to that extent, I don't like it at all. But setting that aside, I don't like being in this 2-hour time frame because we're kind of unpacking more day to day or hour to hour situation. So let's zoom in here, but we are catching nicely at this 1807, that I had talked about, and it did fall below, but has relatively quickly started to try to regain support there at the moment. So that's what I would look for in the near term. It approached that 1750 quite closely, 1766. So for anyone who's looking for a bounce into that zone, if we look sort of on that time period at the ATR, I know we've talked about this before, but setting your buys with a little bit of wiggle room helps. So if you were trying to dip buy at 1750 and you saw that there was an ATR of 13 there, is that 13 right now? Let's see, what was it there? It was 17. Sorry, you can see 17 over here when I hover over that spot. But if you had set your buy at 1750 plus 17 cents, then you would have been setting it for 1767, and you would have caught that 1766 dip and been able to dip buy on one of these expected price zones there. So keep that in mind. If there's curiosity around how to use ATR in conjunction with these things, let me know. I can try to do an additional video. The simple version of it is just check the ATR, add that amount. So if it's 0.17, 17 cents, to whatever stop loss you have, like subtract it if it's a stop loss, so like set it 17 cents below whatever your number is, or if you're trying to like get a dip buy, set it 17 cents higher than the range in which you're trying to dip by, because that's the fluctuation point of the stock at that given time. So anyway, it is holding these levels quite nicely, so I'd continue to work off of this chart. We even saw in the pre-market, mostly pre-market, not really after hours on Friday, we saw it sort of sticking to these levels as well. On the indicator side of things, the RSI is just about mid-range, so could see some additional selling pressure coming in, some additional buying pressure coming in. Well, to be truthful, either buying or selling pressure, because it's just sitting mid-range, so it's not really showing anything at the moment. And the MACD just kind of like crisscrossing over here as it's having this sort of like I have cartwheel in my head, but it's that amusement park ride, the roller coaster. I'm not a big roller coaster person. The roller coaster effect here was just sort of like dipping up and down. Now the question will be, is there any point in time today or even like after hours or tomorrow that we can establish over that 1872, which would get us over, all of this topping out right now, which is kind of like the gray zone of suppression, we'll call it. There's, a ton of selling pressure coming in, sort of keeping the price under that point. And so, I would keep an eye on that. Sorry if you hear the screaming in the background. Small kids, work from home, doing what I can. So, I'll try to filter it out in the editing process. But, right now we're curling over a bit on the bearish area, and it's 12:45. So, you're definitely going to see this after the fact, but I would just keep an eye on, this and the RSI. I'll keep an eye on these bounce zones. Those might provide you some sort of indication points as you're trying to figure out what to do if there is a potential dip by here. I myself am waiting for it to sort of like more solidly settle into some positive price action and show some strength, and then I'll go from there. But I'll obviously keep folks updated on that as time goes on. Okay, so before we flip over to the document side of things, and it's sort of like it's going to be a little bit of editorializing, but I thought for anyone who's interested to hear it, they can hear it. Before we go over there, there's a few more links in the description below that I would like to call attention to. One is the other videos that I've done on the SoFi lockup period. So you can have a look at those to see the extent to which you try to interpret the documentation and figure out what it means. And then there's also a link to a Google form where you can throw your email in if you want to join an email list that I'm planning to roll out in a couple of months. It's not yet formed. It's not yet going out, but I'm going to be putting it together, and it's just going to be once or twice a week. It's going to be in addition to the videos, obviously. I'm going to try to keep it like additive to, or sort of like in conjunction with the video. So either like adding to things that I say in the video to add more clarity, or what have you, update more frequently, or give an option to explore other tickers and other opportunities for trades that I see in any given week that I just don't have time to make videos for. And then there's a couple links to brokers too. This is the Webull desktop app that I'm using right now, so I have a link down there if you want to sign up for Webull. It's a free broker as well, not just a charting tool. And then there's another broker who's great for modern UI, modern UX, really smooth, sleek navigation, really nice execution times. I think that they're mobile only, but I've had them for a while, so I don't know, but it's Gatsby is the name of the app, and there's a link in the description below. They're also a free broker. Okay. So let's flip over here to the documents. So there was this document that came out, linked here from Ortex, filed on June 25th. And, this is the same lockup language as we saw in the other documents that we've gone over before. Basically talking about, let me just get this moved in here. Basically talking about, if the price equals or exceeds $12.50 per share, 20 trading days. This is the big question, okay? This is the big question in all of this, I think. Equals or exceeds $12.50 per share for any 20 trading days within a 30-day trading period. This is the part that's in question, commencing at least 30 days after the closing. Now, the very first video that I did where we looked at these documents, I actually took that to mean, and you can go back and see today's date as well, just as is being thrown out around there. I then got some additional comments and info, and folks said, hey, you might want to relook at this again. I think that what it's saying is that this entire 20 within 30 days starts 30 days after the closing. So they were saying basically, that count of 20 within 30 doesn't even begin until today. So that was when I started to make the additional video and said, yeah, wait, that seems to make a lot more sense to me the way that this is written. Because it kind of feels like 20 trading days within a 30-day trading day period, commencing at least 30 days after, like you're just talking about a few days difference. So why even require that 30 days after closing to be in there? Because 20 trading days, if it was just a straight 20 trading days in a row after the commencement period, after the close of business of IPOE, it's not that big of a difference between that and 30 days after the closing of IPOE. So why even carve that out? You're just talking about a fraction of time. It's just such a tiny amount. So in that way, I said, okay, so it makes more sense to me that it's saying the count. You don't even start the count until 30 days after the closing of IPOE. So then I started to put out all those videos. Now, folks are coming back. Obviously, the news is rife with, today is the day and yada, yada, yada. Here's the problem that I have. One, I feel like the news comes out and just proclaims things, and we know that there have been times in the past where those things have shown to be sort of questionable. And the problem that I have is they don't go through the documents, right? And so they're just up there saying a thing and people take it as gospel, but they aren't backing it up with anything. It's just literally, I say this thing, and so here's what it is. Additionally, this was put out just a few days ago. Why is it not possible? Now, whoever would do this, I don't know. But why is it not possible for somebody who's drawing up these documents knows, right? Because somebody allows the shares that are locked up to be traded if the person who holds them wants to trade them. Why isn't it possible for somebody to simply do the calculation like I did in one of the videos? I had a doc and I said, okay, so 30 days after closing, if that is this date, then 20 trading days after that would be this date. 30 trading days after that would be this date. Why can't we just get dates? At this point, the merger has happened. We know what the dates that we're talking about are. So this 30 days after closing, whoever's drawing up this document, or whoever's publishing it, or whoever's abiding by it, knows what 30 days after closing is. Why can't it just be put into the documentation or come from some official source, which isn't just a talking head on a TV saying, this happens today, with no supporting evidence? Why can't that just be put in plain sights, in plain language, to say this is the date? That is 30 days after closing. And hey, also, this says 20 trading days within a 30 trading day period. But if there was 20 trading days at which it exceeded or met this price within 30 days, then it doesn't start until 30 days after the closing. Just make that clear, because somebody else had also commented and said, oh, you should read this as though there's a comma between period and day. So they're saying exceeds $12.50 per share for any 20 trading days within the 30 trading day period, commencing, so period, comma, commencing at least 30 days after closing. So if that's the case, then why do I have to read it and add punctuation to understand it? It doesn't make any sense. The whole concept under which these things are released and drawn up and shared with the public, I appreciate things being shared, but what all these dates are now. The closing has happened. This closing date that you're talking about, after closing, that has happened. That date is set. It will not change. Why not just show somewhere what these dates are? And listen, if that exists, please just put it in the comments. It's just that it's been remarkably hard to find if it exists. If it does, I'll be super glad, and I'll come on and I'll show it to folks, and I'll be super happy that it exists. We'll know where to find these things in the future. But A, if it does exist, why is it so hard to find? Why does nobody seem to share it? And B, why doesn't it just go into all of these docs that are released after the closing date is known? That doesn't make any sense to me. So, you mix that opacity, that confusion, for whatever reason it's done, with the fact I had somebody else come in and say, oh, why is everyone saying that everything is shorted? Not everything is shorted. And listen, we've been following this since it was way, many months before the merger, IPOE, and we've seen the short and distort campaign that's been done on this from way back then. For whatever reason, I think there's more to dig into there. But look you have a 45 short volume ratio on the 24th. Now, that could be for a couple of reasons. Either these short sellers know for facts that we can't have clearly available to us, that the lockup period ends today, and they believe that will cause panic, or there's just an effort to put out a lot of information that the lockup period ends today, but it actually is how we had read it in the second running through, that the 20 within 30 the count starts today. But, with any disinformation campaign, there's short seller reports that come out that campaign the public to take sort of a point of view that sort of like, show the news from their perspective. But simultaneously, they're taking short positions in these stocks to profit off of those short seller reports that they're putting out. So, there's just so much sketchy activity that happens in these things. And obviously, shorts took out major positions on the 24th of June. And there was another tweet that I'll share tonight that somebody had sent me from, I think from Thinkorswim's platform, which I also have, so I can open and take a look, showing that there's 140, I think it was 140 something percent short interest in the free float. And he was like, how is this possible? And so I, sending out some tweets about how it's possible. Don't, for whatever reason, if it's folks just sort of like tired of the AMC GameStop thing, if it's folks just tired of hearing about short selling, if it's folks that are grifters, if it's folks who are gaslighting, for whatever reason, there's a lot of these things floating around. But just know, there's definitely a short seller side to the story here. Otherwise, you don't get a 45 short volume ratio in a day that is apparently just a few days before the lockup period expires or is socialized to be it's ending, causing on the 24th just this ridiculous sell-off here. Where's the 24th? Yeah, here. So starting this avalanche all the way down here, that just seemingly could not stop. All right, 20 minutes of midday update is plenty, so I'm going to leave it at that, but I just wanted to share those things. Again, if somebody has documents that just give clear dates, I would love, love, love seeing those in the comments. I don't care about being wrong. I don't care about something existing and me saying, where is it? I would love to know where it is, because I will always use that source moving forward to uncover things. And obviously other folks who are confused don't have that source either. So if you have it, I don't care about being right or wrong. I would just like to know where to find the correct information. If it is literally a case where we have to look at these things and try to decipher if there should be commas in certain places or not, that's nuts. And again, it is also nuts that once you know the closing dates of these things, that these documents can't just be updated with clear dates attached to them and provided to the public. That's what I tried to do in the document. I put actual dates. So the problem is that like I'm not an official source, right? I'm trying to decipher these things like everyone else. So it's really crazy to me that if you're producing this document anyway, with hundreds and hundreds of sections in a document, just take the 3 minutes that it would take to call out the actual dates as they exist in calendar terms. All right. I will see you all tonight for an update. I hope your trading day is going well. I hope you're making smart decisions, and I will see you in the next video.